Welcome back to News at Noon on ABC 36 News Now.
Hey, welcome back in, friends. Maysville Tourism has made it to the voting round for Best Downtown and Best Tourist Attraction in our ABC 36 Viewers' Choice Awards.
That's right, and here to tell us more about it is Danny Weddle from Maysville Tourism. Thank you so much for being with us, Danny.
Hey, thanks for having us.
I don't think we've never had you on our show, have we?
Glad to be here.
Thank you for being here.
It's an awesome community.
It really is.
And first and foremost, congratulations on making it to the voting round.
We are honored. We urge people to get out and vote for us, or vote for us.
Well, the people have spoken.
Yeah, they have.
So let's talk about what makes Maysville tourism so special. I mean, you've got so much history there. We love the community, but give us the elevator speech. Why folks should come up and see it?
Well, we were a gateway to Kentucky. People came down the Ohio River, early settlers. They stopped in Limestone, which is now Maysville. That was the original name. And in the early days, Washington was bigger than Maysville. They're now one community. They have been since 1990. We're talking about 1786, 1787. The pioneers came here, settled in Washington. And once the Indian threat was over and steamboats came, Maysville grew. But Washington is full of log cabins, museums. We've got connections to the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, Civil War. We have a house in Washington where two generals that fought at Shiloh, one on each side, lived at separate times. Wow. Albert Sidney Johnston for the South was killed at the Battle of Shiloh, really a blow to the Confederacy. And then later on, William Bull Nelson's family lived in that house.
Bull Nelson. Wow.
Both of their fathers were physicians. Both families attended the Presbyterian Church in Washington. They both fought at Shiloh. Of course, Nelson backed up Grant. But just to think, one house, those two guys lived there at separate
I don't know
That's
how
incredible.
I missed that, because I knew about Johnson and Nelson's connection to Maysville, but I didn't realize the same house.
Well, even crazier, Thomas Nelson, who was Bull Nelson's brother, he was ambassador to Chile, and there was a humongous fire at a Catholic church in Chile. Between 2,000 and 3,000 people were killed, many young people, young women. Thomas Nelson and the rest of the American delegation go down and save several people.
Wow.
And he marries Elizabeth Key. Elizabeth Key is a student who goes to Cincinnati, and one of her teachers is Harriet Beecher. She brings Harriet Beecher home in 1833. Marshall Key, Elizabeth's dad, is the clerk of Mason County. He takes Harriet Beecher to the courthouse square in Washington. She witnesses a slave auction, which becomes part of Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Uncle Tom's Cabin, that's right. So we're going to clearly have to give you guys about an hour for next time to come visit, because the history goes on and on. And let's move forward in history here. Rosemary Clooney's born in Maysville. Just the connections are deep. And with that proximity to Cincinnati, huge Underground Railroad connection there too.
You know, we had both sides. We had abolitionists, we had slave owners. But to get to Ohio and eventually to Canada, you had to come through Washington and Maysville. Another guy from Washington, Thornton Blackburn, whose story was not known until about 20 years ago. He was a young slave, sold into slavery as a child, taken from his mother in Maysville, brought to Washington, lives in this home. Grows up, he ends up in Louisville. He is a slave in Louisville, marries a woman. They decide to escape. They escape to Cincinnati, take a stagecoach to Detroit. Someone in Louisville recognizes them from Louisville. They're thrown in jail in Detroit. There's Blackburn riots, you can read about that. They escape, go to Canada, and their case becomes the precedent for once the slaves get to Canada, they're free.
Wow.
That is a monumental story that was not known until they do an archaeological dig of their home in Toronto.
Incredible.
And they find all this out.
That is awesome. So how can people find out more information about Maysville and all the wonderful
Let's get a personal invite out to our viewers here
We
in
want
Central
everyone
Kentucky.
to come. Cityofmaysville.com or visit Maysville KY on Facebook. We have tours, and I want to talk a little bit about downtown Maysville because they're in the running for downtown. Brick streets, we have architecture that's unreal. We're on the Ohio River. We have floodwall murals. There's a lot to see. Restaurants. Old Pogue Distillery is a small batch distillery you can tour. And there's the Pogue Experience at the Kentucky Gateway Museum Center. The Kentucky Gateway Museum Center has one of the world's largest collections of miniatures.
We want to make sure our folks are voting for you on the VCAs, because we need you back. We've got to get the rest of this story.
That's right.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
This is fascinating. We're back with more after this. Stick around.